So is the SEC Growth Data Science staff meeting in development for September 21st. So I've got a number of read-only items, and apologies that I have a lot of items in here. It's a function of trying to do fewer updates periodically in Slack as things happen and more in this doc, whether they get read or not. Got a couple read-only items in news and events, A, B, and C. And I'm just going to jump down to item D. So instead of changing or creating a team name that covers my teams of secure, govern, data science, and growth to something else that is not 4 words or 5 words, as my peers have teams that are named with 1 word, it just makes it a little more verbose and challenging to communicate. Instead, I decided to update my README. It now has a corrected list of my teams and also has sections for dashboards I use, which I've been meaning to add for a while, goals and priorities and OKRs. It's a much simpler MVC and a simple, boring solution as well. So just mostly a heads up on that. So it's not me doing most of the talking, even though I put a couple items on here. Any volunteers to verbalize E, which actually is from Cheryl from the development staff meeting?
Yeah, I'll do that. So Cheryl mentioned in the development staff meeting that team members in her teams have been experiencing delays with laptop orders, new hires and refreshes. You can see the details in the document. She's also shared the spreadsheet to that. I think curious to see if that's happening across these groups as well.
I had this historically. I don't know if she's interested in collecting historical data. It's been resolved now, but I had one laptop that was 6 months.
I think she's collecting current challenges, but it probably couldn't hurt to put in this any historical ones that are likely to recur.
The TLDR with what she's looking at is how do we resolve these? It seems there doesn't seem to be a really good process for keeping team members up to date on their laptop when it's coming. It seems that you just sort of have to nudge the team and keep asking, and then it gets done. The example she gave was that she reached out directly to someone and said, what's happening with the status of this laptop? And 5 days later, it was ordered and on its way, which is not the best process. You know, it means you have to be noisy to get things done.
Can somebody?
I forgot to do the laptop refresh. I filled out the Google Doc form and then never followed up on it. And I said I was going to purchase my own. I totally forgot about it. And that was about 6 months ago. So I'm still on the old laptop.
Me too. Somebody want to volunteer to verbalize Nick's item? Also from the development staff meeting?
I can take that. So Nick in the development staff meeting, he's following up on last week's item about group software subscriptions. He opened up an issue to get input on what services people are interested in. Looking at the issue, Chris and I think Grammarly are the top 2.
Thanks, Amar. So please review and provide feedback if interested on the greenhouse nice to haves to ensure we have the best list. I came out of the development offsite from 2 weeks ago. Gosh, that was 2 weeks ago. As one of the action items, I think, to optimize those so we have the right. We're evaluating candidates on the right things for nice to haves. Also, please take, if you haven't already, take the MEC training, which is being renamed to Team Ops. MEC is managing efficiently for something and something. I guess Team Ops, that's a better name. It's not an acronym, and I can't remember. I have to guess. So might be a good time to do it. I took it today, and also to re-advertise it to your teams, as I'm doing to y'all. It took about an hour. I learned a few things, and overall, I think it was just a good experience. So managing so everyone can contribute. Thanks, Seth, for putting that in. That's what it stands for. I think that's one of the reasons we're changing the name. Is Team Ops sounds catchier too. I'd actually think it'd be really cool if we actually release this to the public. It's just it's basically it's a video by Sid, introduction, and then a rehash of various handbook pages that have been updated, and also some quizzes so you can test your knowledge. But yeah, we'll see. Thomas, you've got
It's a good segue in that we're at the end of the release, which means it's retrospective time. So section retrospective is going to be scheduled for next Wednesday during our currently scheduled coffee chat times. And I'll be pushing those coffee chats back a half hour, just like we did this past time. The one change we're going to be making with invites this time around is instead of just putting it on the stage calendars and advertising in Slack, we're going to be using the group email addresses that we have to invite folks to attend. So that if people click yes, they'll get the reminders. And so here's the ask here is, would you please check your Google Group memberships to make sure they're accurate? We've had some changes, so it's just a good time to check before we start actually trying to use them. So.
And Thomas, to add to Google Groups, we have to open up a access request.
Unless you own the group, you might have an administrator privileges as a manager.
Okay.
And some groups people can self-sign up for as well. There's a setting in the group for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thomas, you put something on Slack this morning about naming conventions. I haven't had a chance to follow up on that. Are we looking at renaming these groups?
IT is looking to standardize how groups are named across the entire organization. Right now, it is something that's only rolled out to infrastructure, but they're looking to roll this out everywhere. And so one of the IT managers did a link to the handbook showing what the convention they're moving towards is. And so I'll go grab that link and I'll add it here. Thank you for the reminder on that.
so in the big rocks and hot issues section. So SEC and data science, PI, performance indicator review is next happening on September 28th. So it's a week from today. Everyone is invited to participate, sync or async if they're interested. I've been participating in these for a while when they're primarily about product management metrics, and I got some value out of it. Is more about like what the questions were than what the content was, but it was interesting. It's mostly between product managers. They've since added the cross-functional stuff that we've been tracking, things like percentage of issues that are in various categories and error budgets and bugs behind various types that are past SLO, et cetera. So it's kind of a good combination of those things. So I know Thomas and Neil and Phil and others have specific action items in here to help fill out some of the content, but everyone's definitely invited to collaborate on this. So on number 5, someone who hasn't verbalized somebody else's stuff already, maybe verbalize this one, 5A.
I can take it. Let's see. From Chun, in this week's development staff meeting, every team's information is updated in a single GitLab issue on a weekly basis. Issue creation was fully automated thanks to Sam's script. And here's an example.
Thanks, Jay. So something we would want to do as well is summarize on a per group level, per engineering manager or senior engineering manager to summarize and then tag the stakeholders that are interested. Weekly feels like a little too often to me. Maybe every other week would be better. I'm planning on doing something similar at my level and tagging anybody interested, Christopher and anybody else interested. But that doesn't, just because I'm going to do it, doesn't mean everybody else has to.
Yeah, I think anti-abuse is going to give it a go. Phil and I were talking about it. We're going to do it on a weekly cadence to at least try it out. Is it that Christopher's requesting this, or is this just to get better visibility overall? Or
Christopher's actually, he's not requesting it. But he's in favor of it. and I've been in favor of it as well, at a high level, at least, of just knowing what's going on so that I can know what the risks are and be up to date on the status of of things, et cetera. But definitely weekly seems like too often. Every other, and monthly seems like not often enough. So maybe every 2 weeks.
Christopher's comment on that was, if some teams start doing this, he'll read them, but then he won't be getting updates from other teams. So he wanted to make sure everyone had the opportunity to at least do it, so that he's not focusing on some teams over others.
I see multiple people typing.
Yeah, I'll talk while I try to figure out how I'm finishing up the thought. I'm honestly struggling if issues are the best delivery vehicle for this kind of information. It's really intended. I mean, I like the summary because it kind of forces a thoughts on what's happened, where we, I mean, what's happening now, what are the current risks now, but is there value gained by having the historical information that these kind of update issues would provide? That's the question that I keep coming back to in my head. And to me, that helps determine appropriate medium, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Mon does her updates in Slack. She's been doing this a while because it was a good way for her and I to collaborate. And she tags me and Elron on the business side. So it was a good way to stop getting questions from Elron and I and doing the updates. That's why she started doing it. And not everyone reads all their emails often. Like, it's easy to assume if you subscribe to inbox 0, like you read most of your emails and within a day or two of getting them, you may assume others do too, and that may not be the case.
Yeah, you could update the same issue, Thomas, just create one. Some of our PMs do that for priorities across threat insights and security policies. They have the same issue that they keep updating. That sort of removes the historical context that you'd be introducing with a separate issue.
I'm going to risk brainstorming live then. In SEC, there is a weekly created issue for features and high priority bugs that have been closed in the past 7 days. Would adding additional content adding additional comments from each group around risks or praise or anything along those lines, would it be worth adding on to that already created issue that we have? Wordsmithing needed, but
I'd say
it's not a bad idea.
Kirkland,
I quite like that. That's worth trying.
Yeah.
The only way that's going to fall down is if Christopher wants all of these on one issue board and it doesn't fit because it's,
yeah, it's different. Yeah.
But we're not being asked to do that yet. I actually quite like your idea. Why summarize what we've closed when we already have an automated issue that does that? Just add on the additional information. Yeah.
that is figure out what makes sense and try it and see how it works, and then let's iterate on it.
Amar, you had a question there as well.
Yeah, mine was primarily about what sort of information is important to you or anyone who would be reading this, just to guide what our updates will be. So like the audience, the important information that you care about or that you think would be valuable as a part of this update.
And Brett says, do what works for you and your stakeholders, but maybe like accomplishments, active work, and any risks, concerns. And figure out also who to tag to, like, is it like Mon, just as an example, not that Mon's doing it perfectly, but it is a good example. Mon doesn't tag the product manager because the product manager already is already in the details. But Mon tags me and then Eleron on the business side because we were asking for updates. Like, I don't know if you're Amar, like like, would you maybe ask your product manager, would they want to see these, or is it noise for them? Probably Thomas would want to see them and be noticed. Maybe some people on your team, but they probably already know. Maybe your UX counterpart, maybe your set counterpart, maybe not, maybe they're already in the loop on the details, and then kind of go from there.
Thank you.
Seth, I like your next item. Why don't you verbalize?
Yeah, so had a question in terms of transition with Eric Johnson. I don't know if there's an issue that describes how we should be sending messages. I know Ashley's stepping in the meantime. If she's taking over the CTO channel, if we should direct questions starting now to her, wait till October 1. Just wanted to get an idea how to route communication.
I don't know of an issue that lists all the details, but like on the things that I was coordinating directly with Eric on, I was told, oh, this one's going to this direction, that one's going that direction. Like for the engineering internship program, that went from Eric to Christopher, and that's Phil's, not mine. I know for a customer escalation that I was on, that went from, which I'm not going to say the customer name since it's going to go public, that went from Eric to David DeSanto. And on some abuse stuff that Jay and Phil and I and others are working on, it's actually not determined, but as he was the sponsor, but I think that's going to be the group of e-group members I update periodically. My guess it's probably going to go to Steve Lloyd in infrastructure, since we're trying to prevent infrastructure challenges. So I'd say if you don't know, ask in #CTO. Net.
Okay. Great.
But if you have any specific questions, I might know just from other discussions. So maybe ask in our channel first or now if you'd like, and we'll see if we know. And if not, then post in #CTO.
Okay. But it sounds like we're not going to try to dump everything on Ashley. Probably is overwhelming, but try to distribute it out to other people. Okay.
Although some are definitely going to Ashley, definitely.
Yep.
You can find the engineering staff meeting document. I think it was last week on Thursday they had the meeting, and they discussed all of this in that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find it on the calendar. Yeah, engineering staff meeting.
It's a great question. So we added a couple new sections, including thanks and gratitude. So I'll read these. These are from me to folks on the team. So great job, Neil, in presenting and answering questions on error budgets and other related things in this week's engineering allocation meeting. And thanks, Thomas, for taking on the US R&D tax calculation project. It's a lot of work, but it does save lots of money for the company. That's all we had for today. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.